And on Two Wheels this week, Jeff travels to the West Midlands to meet the police force and to take a look at their new police bike. And we've some top stunt action from Bike Live 2001. Wayne also has a good idea for repairing broken zips on leathers. But first, I take a ride on a brand new machine. Now this is a name that we've featured in the past on Two Wheels, Sachs, and if you've paid attention in the past you'll know that I explained that many years ago Sachs used to make engines and lots of bike builders used to use their engines in their machines, a bit like Roadster do today. Roadster, they use engines, or they make engines for people like CCM, Aprilia and even BMW. Well, that used to be the story with these people, but now we've gone complete role reversal. Sachs are now building the bikes and they're using other people's engines. Not just other people's engines, but other people's bits and pieces from all over the place. And in this bike, we've got some Japanese, we've got Italian, and we've got Spanish. And it's all in this, their new model. It's called the Roadster 800. This new addition to the Sachs range takes its power from an 805cc Suzuki motor. It's quite torquey and it pulls well from low revs. It's quite a relaxing ride really, nice high handlebars and a seat height of just 770mm, so no pumped up wrists and no balancing on your tiptoes at the traffic lights. So it's called a Roadster now, this new model. It's not a new name, it's just a new model. They've used the name Roadster before. They've got a 125 in the range and they've got a 650, which you've probably seen before. But is it really a Roadster? Well, I suppose that depends on your definition of a Roadster. What is a Roadster? Who knows? I haven't got a clue myself, but I think this bike doesn't really know what it wants to be. Because if we just look at the front end, first of all, just ignore everything from the forks backwards and look at the forks and the front wheel and the front mudguard there. It's sort of a Street Fighter type thing. It reminds me a bit of a Street Fighter bike. We've got these big chunky Paoli forks there. We've got Spanish down here, Spanish calipers, Gramica calipers and pistons in there. Couple of big twin discs on the front and a nice spoked wheel, so it's got almost a retro look to the wheel and say big chunky Street Fighter style forks. Up here we've got some chrome. It's only plastic really, but plastic sort of with a chrome look on it. All looks very nice, all looks very retro, even coming up to the mirrors, chrome backs on the mirrors, so Street Fighter, muscly bike, retro feel to it. And this bit here, this reminds me of Honda's X11, you know, the big muscle bike with the Blackbird engine in it. That's got a similar type of thing to this, although a bigger version. Kind of a cowling with some air scoops there to pull air in there to keep things cool. So, Street Fighter, retro, now muscle bike. Then we come back here. We've gone from Italian and Spanish up there to Japanese down here. We've got a V-twin motor. Suzuki engine this, it's out of a Suzuki Marauder, 800cc's V-twin, slightly differently tuned. Things are done slightly differently inside, but it's essentially Suzuki Marauder engine. V-twin, there you go, dead obvious, loads of chrome. So now it's a custom cruiser. So we've got all this chrome down here, you can sit in your garage and polish that all day long, keep you nice and busy. Say custom cruiser look there. Slash cut exhaust there, so we've got this Street Fighter sort of street bike, drag bike, whatever you want to call it look there, very sort of aggressive look. Twin shocks at the back, so we're back to retro now. But interestingly, these shocks, these aren't Sachs. Now, Sachs make their own shock absorbers and they're very good. They've got a good reputation. These are actually Italian. They're called Padova. So why Sachs don't use their own shocks on their own bike, I don't know. It's my guess, and it's only my guess, that they can probably buy these cheaper than they can actually make their own. But there you go. So twin shocks, retro. Another big spoked wheel at the back with a nice big chunky 160 section rear tyre. So what is it? Is it a Roadster? Well, I suppose if I was to write down a description of this bike, I would have to say it's a sort of street fighting, muscle bike, retro, custom cruiser, or something like that. What's in the name anyway? It's how it goes and it's how it looks that matter. And whilst it may have a mixture of styles, you have to admit that they all work pretty well when they're put together like this. As for how it goes, well, 110 miles an hour or so is its claimed top speed, but with this style of machine and the lack of wind protection, 70 to 80 is about as much as you can comfortably sustain for any length of time. It created quite a lot of interest at last year's NEC show, and it continues to turn some heads out on the road. It's available in blue or black, and it'll cost you £5,695. So there it is then, or here it is. Oh, the Sachs 800 Roadster. So who's going to buy a bike like this? Well, I've been thinking about it. I think probably two different types of people. Maybe you're born again biker, dare I say. Someone who wants a nice shiny machine that'll impress the neighbours. Well, here it is, ready made, you don't have to do anything to it. Looks quite impressive, nice and aggressive, and all your neighbours will think you've got a nice, big, expensive, powerful machine. Or maybe the person who likes to change things around a bit, because I think this bike is a perfect candidate for customisation. If I owned it, I'd get rid of this here. All this plastic here, this back fender here with the number plate on it. I'd get rid of that and I'd have a nice little neat back end, almost Ducati Monster style. Some nice small indicators there, spend a few bob on that, but it would smarten the back end up a bit. These shocks, I might get rid of these. They're okay, they do the job, but they're not fantastic. And let's face it, if you're on a racing bike, you think nothing of spending a fortune on a shock absorber, then you shove it up there, the top of the swinging arm under the seat where nobody can see it. So treat yourself to a nice pair of twin shocks, nice fancy ones, and they're on full view. These exhausts, now I might stay with them actually because they're quite good. When I say they're quite good, they're quite noisy, and they're noisy at low revs. It seems to be noisier at low revs than it is at high revs for some reason. I don't know if it's because as you're moving fast you leave the noise behind or something, but in town, in a built-up area when you've got walls either side and it's sort of burbling along very slowly in traffic, it makes a hell of a racket. In fact, if you got lost and you had to ask for directions, you'd have to turn the engine off, because with a full face helmet on, you have no chance of hearing what the hell they're talking about. But that's it, there it is, the 800 Roadster as it's called. They started with a 125, then they gave us a 650, and now they're giving us this, the 800. So what's next? Watch this space.
Scooters, eh? Wayne's favourite subject. Well, perhaps his second favourite subject. But they do have their uses. They're not particularly my cup of tea, but they're useful in the same way that a police panda car is, in the same way that a big traffic patrol police vehicle is, in the same way that our friends, the Pan-European, is useful. But what's this at the end here? A scooter with a police sign on it? Well, we're here in Brownhills, in part of the West Midlands force, and I'm going to see PC Alan Smith, who is the man who uses this in his policing duties.
The scooter's become a byproduct of the job, really. It's a means of transport for me to get to the jobs and incidents that I have to attend, but primarily crime prevention issues, architectural liaison issues, and community safety.
Can I ask you what you used before you had the scooter?
Well, that was rather quite an issue. I had to grab whatever transport was available, be it my own car, or if there was a police vehicle available, then I would use that. But of course, with the demands upon the police vehicle, that was very difficult to achieve. So by getting this sponsorship package with Kimco, I've now more or less got a private vehicle for my own use.
One of the interesting points that I've noticed, Alan, the bike isn't actually, or the scooter isn't actually marked up in police colours.
They didn't have a white bike, I presume, so we went with whatever colour was available. We still put the police stickers on it so it's identifiable as a police vehicle, but the colouring really isn't a major issue to be concerned about.
Now, something else I can't help but noticing, but you've got the full police gear, including the helmet.
Yeah, be it whether we ride in the Pan-Europeans or whether we ride in scooters, there's a safety issue. Falling off a scooter at 30 mile an hour is the same as falling off a pan at 30, so we try to promote the correct equipment to ride motorcycles with high visibility jackets and protective clothing.
Now, I noticed when we were out, you got some interesting looks of passerbys and whatnot, but how do people perceive you? Is it more sort of friendly interface?
Yeah, we get some very strange reactions to it when we ride along. They expect to see us on a red and white Pan-European sort of thing, blue, or whatever colour scheme is in use. And all of a sudden to see us on one of these scooters, there's double takes all the time, you know, what on earth? But it does break down barriers because they come and say, well, what are you doing on that? Where you had this from, and you know, what's going on? And so we explain how come we're using the scooter, and particularly with youngsters as well, as the scooter trend is taking off. And we want to be seen to be part of that, in advising the kids on how to ride these things properly and what equipment to wear and not, you know, to go out in jeans and trainers. And so it breaks down barriers and we can get into the youth scene a lot easier.
Now, while you're out actually visiting the scene of crime or whatever, you're in radio contact with your control, so can you get diverted to other incidents? Primarily
I'm out visiting victims of crime or incidents of crime in the after event, more or less. But yeah, we're mic'd up, we carry personal radios, the helmets are hooked into personal radios. And so if we hear something happening that's in the locality, I'll divert off and give assistance to that if I can.
Now, I know you're separate from the actual traffic units. Oh, by the way, what do you actually call these traffic units now?
They're now called RPUs, Road Policing Units. Still traffic, different name. They serve the same function.
Now, it's not just mobility, is it? Because scooters are more economical, so that must come, with budgets being what they are, that must come into it as well.
Because, as you say, the economics of it, we will be evaluating the scooter later on, looking at how it's been perceived by members of the public and other police officers because they have access to it, how it's worked out economically, miles per gallon, and that's quite considerable at the moment. It's very good, and how effective it's been in my role, and other people have access to it to help them in their jobs. And I'm sure we'll see more of them about and used by a greater variety of people such as ourselves.
And coming up after the break, Wayne has an idea for fixing a broken zip and some top action from Bike Live 2001.
It's my new job. I'm a zip tester, and you've found my forte. Zips are a problem. I've got a mate, Chris Haynes, who once had to return a whole load of products that he bought because of a zip breaking. Because, did you know this? Here's a fact. 70% of return faulty items are actually zip problems. And 50% of that 70% are actually this little bit, this pulley falling off. So what did Chris do? He invented this, which is called a zip mate. And all it is a nice little loop of stainless steel, which will go through where this would have lived if it had broken off. And then when you pulled it through, you just put this little plastic cover over it, like that. Clip it up and you've got a finished pulley, and that'll sort the job out probably for the rest of its life. Hey, you get 2 in a packet like that, and it even gives you pictures to explain how to fix it, all for £2. But I mean, what are you going to use it on? Of course, there's zips on this leather suit, there's zips on all sorts of textile clothing, there's even zips on things like this, for example. Look, we've got this here tank bag that's got loads of zips to keep it all fastened together. Oops. Pair of gloves. There's often a zip on a pair of gloves that might just pull off, and then you're snookered, you can't fasten it up nice and tight. Oi. And then you've got a pair of boots, for example. They're finished off here with a zip, and then finished with the Velcro. Ooh. Oh dear, I wonder where that got him.
Of course, a bike show wouldn't be complete without a stunt show, and this one wouldn't be complete without Jason Finn doing his stuff. Now out here now we've got Kevin Carmichael. He's the holder of the longest rolling stoppie record, and he's practicing it here, but it's so cold he's having some trouble warming up the tyres. Here he comes. Whoa. Well, that wasn't very long, was it? But he'll have another go. Well, that's a new one on me. Fireworks as well. Perhaps he's given up on the rolling stoppie. Now we all know these stunt riders are slightly mad, but the guy in the red outfit there, that's Terry Grant, who also drives that little car with the Yamaha engine. Well, he's assisting Kevin on this to do some loony stunts which are actually unscheduled. So I reckon this is one where he piles up. I hope he stops. Oh. And he does. Just. Wayne might do that, but I wouldn't. That's lying on the floor, that is, not the stopping. I wouldn't be doing this bit either. Wow. This is a little impromptu demo to warm themselves up as much as the crowd, I reckon. But it's all novel. But these guys, they're all part of a stunt circus in a way, and it really is a circus. I won't call them a bunch of clowns, but they must come pretty close. Well, that's a bit of a novelty. That's Terry lying flat, but Kevin's got his hands on the bars. That must feel so weird. Talk about feeling out of control of your destiny. And if he does a stoppie, that'll be really weird after this. Has he had enough? That's what I'm asking myself. If he has, he can't do much about it because he can't get off it. Perhaps he's going to leave him on it now. Oh my God! Oh, he stopped. He's had enough, and I don't blame him. Now this I haven't seen before. He's actually put a helmet bag over the top of his helmet, and he's going to do this literally blindfold. Yeah, there he goes. He's in the dark. Wow. No, thank you. Well, I haven't seen that one before. Well, you've probably seen Terry before. I know it's not a bike, but it has got a Yamaha engine in. 125 brake horsepower, and there he is spinning the tyres up. And he's still a biker at heart. I don't know if he actually performs a wheelie on this or a stoppie, but I don't think he does. But nothing had surprised me with this guy. He's quite a case. In fact, he's volunteered to spin it round the cameraman when he's done his stunts, and let's see if he does. Here we go. Just building up a bit of speed. Can you see just behind me, down in the background there, Kevin Carmichael is doing a little bit of trickery because he's actually going to take the front wheel out of the bike and loosen the front forks. And he's actually going to drop this out while he's actually riding, which will be quite spectacular. We'll just hang on a few minutes until Terry's finished and then see what he gets up to. I'll tell you what I'm seeing down there, and what you can probably just about hear, is Kevin on the bike with no front forks and no front wheel. In fact, his mate's got those. Oh, he's waiting for some applause before he starts. I'll give him some. But I haven't seen this before. I've read about him doing it, but I haven't seen it. And it really looks weird. Whoa, there he is. Oh, fantastic. And I certainly wouldn't be doing that. Oh my God. A headless and forkless bike, and here comes the forks. I was a bit disappointed though, they didn't come to a halt and actually drop the yokes over the forks. Now that would have been really cool, wouldn't it? But there they are, they're actually putting the forks back on the bike now. But fair dues, eh? It's not bad, is it? But I've got the man himself here, Kevin Carmichael. Kevin, I don't know what to say about that because I've never seen anything like that. But how on earth do you sort of control the bike when you're up there on the back wheel with no forks?
Well, unfortunately, I can't control it too much.
You seem to be.
No, this is a nice surface, so it's nice and level, so I can fairly, go straight. So that's okay. But I done it last week in Ingolston, and it was actually cambered.
Yeah.
I nearly killed myself. I came down once without the front wheel in.
Yeah.
And I really don't wish to.
Wow.
Repeat that one
Not
again.
the thing to do. So where did you first do this?
I first done it in Japan.
Yeah.
With the no front end. The first time I done the no front wheel was at Mallory Park.
Yeah.
Last '99.
Ah, during the stunt
European
championships, was it? Yeah.
Championship,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And are you working on this business? I jokingly said I was disappointed you didn't put the wheel back in on the move. You're going to drop the yokes over the forks at some time.
No, I don't think so. I plan to do it 2s up though. I want to do it with someone else on the bike.
Yeah,
but
right.
I'll wait until.
Wait until you get a volunteer.
No, if anybody else catches up and starts doing that, then I'll try and move it on a stage.
Yeah. You mentioned the surface is important, and so where do you actually practice? Have you got a big backyard or what?
No, it's actually quite hard to get places to practice. Knock Hill quite kindly let me in there whenever I want, and I've got a local bike dealer who's got a large yard, so I can go in there.
Yeah.
Sometimes, and there's a place near my house where I go, and again.
What, a certain main road? Is it?
No, I gave that up a long time ago. No, it's an old bit of disused land.
Right. Yeah.
Nobody goes there, the police don't bother, so
Yeah.
I can go there and spend as much time as I want.
Right. And do you have paramedics with you as well?
No, unfortunately, I've needed them a few times.
Thanks a lot, Kevin.
Thank you.
And on Two Wheels next week, join us here in Italy. Yes, sunny Italy, where the sun is cracking the flags, or is it the flipping rain that's cracking the flags? Anyway, we're going to show you a fancy high-tech boot factory in a factory that is located not far away from Venice, where they have gondolas and everything because it obviously rains that much, they need boats everywhere. Anyway, that's beside the point. I've had enough now. I've had enough. It's flaming freezing. I'm wet, I'm soaking. I brought my shorts and my suntan oil. I can't believe you sent me